Hi, Tom here. In this week's Circle Line Art School video, I'll show you one way to draw a simple motorcycle using a rectangle as a starting point. The rectangle is roughly 1.5 times wider than it is tall. Once you've sketched a rectangle using soft guidelines, it's time to draw a square in the corner on the right. The square needs to be about half the height of the rectangle. And then within the square, draw faint lines for an X, corner to corner, and then across. These lines will help you guide the drawing of a circle for the right-hand side wheel of the motorcycle. So when drawing a circle, take your time and use the guidelines so that your circle touches the four edges of the square and looks symmetrical. And then you could draw a small circle in the center of the larger circle too to show the center point. When you're ready, draw another square on the left-hand side. This square needs to be slightly larger than the first square that we drew on the right-hand side. But again, we can draw some guidelines as an X and then a cross, and then using the same technique to draw a circle as carefully as you can, using the guidelines, and making sure the circle touches all four sides of the square that you drew. Check your circles to make sure that they seem okay, and then we could draw a center circle on the left hand side too. The next step is to draw another circle inside the first circle to indicate the thickness of the tire on the right. And then we can repeat that for the tire on the left hand side. Once you have done this, then we can draw one more circle in the right hand side wheel, and then another circle in the left hand side wheel for the rotor. At this stage, the lines are just a guideline and we can improve them later on in the drawing. The next step in this drawing is to draw a shape that covers the main body of the motorcycle. Look at the angle and the curves of this shape and notice how it fits in relation to the front and back wheels of the motorcycle. Once you have this shape in place and it looks okay, then we can extend the motorcycle by adding the exhaust pipe towards the left. And the exhaust pipe will be at an angle from the base of the body of the motorcycle, going at an angle above the wheel on the left-hand side. Next, we can extend the frame of the motorcycle towards the left above the exhaust. Again, trying to create curved lines that link with the other curves and shapes within the drawing that we're making, so that all the individual shapes sort of work together and look okay together. Once you have this subframe in place, it's time to add some shapes for the cover of the motorcycle and the seat and the gas tank. gas tank will be the larger of the three shapes. Look at how these three shapes interconnect, how they fit together. And by looking at how shapes interact and fit together, that will help guide your drawing and make it look more realistic. So at this stage, we're drawing the basic shapes, and you want to check that the basic shapes all work together before you consider adding any details. The next step is to draw some of the smaller shapes and some of the smaller details. And once you've checked all of these smaller shapes and details for your drawing, then you could start to add some shading. I hope you like, share and comment on this video. Please subscribe to Circle Line Art School to keep up to date with all the content that I make. To learn more about my online drawing courses for beginners, please visit circlelineartschool.com. At this stage, you need to be careful that you don't put too much details into your drawing. The main point to notice is how each of the new details that you draw fit into the details and the basic shapes that you have already drawn. You need to ask the questions, is this the right size? How does this detail fit next to the other shapes that I've already drawn? And does it just look right? And if it doesn't, make sure that you change it to improve it. The aim is always to simplify a drawing as much as possible, so that it has some clarity, and for this drawing, so that it's ready for some shading later on. Some of the shapes you draw can have darker outlines, but if they're shapes within shapes, it might be better to use soft guidelines for these smaller, more subtle areas. Once you think that you're ready for some shading, for adding some tonal values to your drawing, make sure that you check your drawing first and correct any of the shapes that you think that you could improve. Or maybe some shapes that you missed or forgot to add to your drawing. If your drawing needs tidying up with an eraser so that you have just the lines that you need before you start shading, that would be a good idea, just to clean up your drawing with an eraser. So erasers are useful to erase the earlier guidelines, but also you can use an eraser to lighten smudged areas of your drawing so that they become brighter as they were before you started the drawing. For this drawing, I use a 4B pencil that makes a soft dark tonal value and soft graded tonal values too. Any soft dark pencil would work well, I think, for this drawing. Once you're ready to add shading, start perhaps by shading the tires and other areas that are the darkest tonal values within your drawing. Then, once you have the basic darkest tonal values in your drawing in place, then it's time to make them even darker. After that, you could add some midtones, tonal values which aren't dark or light, somewhere in the middle, and also some graded tonal values. Most often we find graded tonal values, which grade gradually from light to dark. We find these on curved surfaces, and a motorcycle will have quite a few curved surfaces which are shiny, which would be good areas to add graded tonal values to. Use the side point of your pencil when shading and take your time. Notice where the edges of the tonal values are and if they're dark or if they're more subtle and soft as the tone reaches the edge of the shape that you're shading. Once you have carefully added all the shading that your drawing needs, then your drawing is finished. To learn more about my online drawing courses for beginners, please visit circlelineartschool.com. Thanks for watching and see you next time.